Hey guys, this is Sujoy over here. Um, so today I'm going to be talking about white privilege here in Vietnam. So before I start talking, I just want to let you know that I have nothing against white people. I've stayed in Europe for many years. I've had a lot of white friends, and they're just amazing people. Um, because I stayed like most of my I did most of my upbringing in Europe, and I was in America, and then I was in Australia. So I had a lot of international friends, and I had a lot of friends who were white people. But I'm going to be talking about specifically about white privilege here in Vietnam. So I'm a person of color. I'm not white. I'm brown skin. So I'm actually dark brown skin, and I'm from India. Okay, so I'm making this video because I've been living here in Vietnam for 4 years, and I want to talk about white privilege here in Vietnam. So the reality is, not all foreigners get treated equally here in Vietnam, especially if you're not white, especially if you're from India or if you're a brown skinned foreigner. You not get that kind of treatment which other foreigners do get if they're white. Okay, so I'll give you some examples, like especially in Hanoi and in Saigon. If I want to go to a restaurant, or if I want to go to a bar to drink some beer or something, I may not get that kind of proper treatment because they know I'm not a white person. I got brown skin, and I'm from India, so I will not be treated properly. I'll not be treated right. I'll be treated poorly. I've had many encounters. Like today, I went to Starbucks to have some coffee in Hanoi, and the barista guy was like super fucking rude when he was taking my order, no smile, nothing. Um, but if you're a white person, you're going to get five-star treatment here in Vietnam. If you have access to go to any fancy restaurant or bars. You can go to any coffee shop in your pajamas. I mean, I've even seen white people, some white backpackers, like they're wearing like half cut shirts, and they look kind of shabby in their apparel, and they like just straight away walk into a five-star restaurant, five-star hotel, sorry, five-star hotel, or a very fancy restaurant in a mall in Vietnam, and they can just sit down, and they'll be treated very nicely. But if I do that, if I was if I would do that, or even if I would dress properly and go to these restaurants, or in these or malls or whatever, I will not get that kind of treatment. In fact, I'll be getting a very shitty treatment by the Vietnamese people. I would say lack of knowledge, a lot of racism, definitely, especially the Vietnamese girls. Um, they're like, they're too much. They love to date white people. Okay, I've tried all these dating sites, Tinder, Badu, and a lot of times I land up becoming a virtual friend, or they don't show up for a coffee, and I definitely communicate with them, chat with them very professionally, and I'm I even tell them that, okay, hey, you come, I'll treat you a nice coffee or something. But most of the Vietnamese girls, especially in Saigon and in Hanoi, they love white people. They love to date white people. So it's in their mind that, okay, if you're white, you got a lot of money. I'll go to Europe and all that. So and it's not true because I've seen a lot of poor people who are white. I mean, when I was in Europe and when I was in the U.S., even in Australia, I've seen a lot of, even in Thailand, I've seen a couple of white foreigners, expats. They don't have money to eat. They have that board. I need money to fly home and all that shit. And even like when I was in Cambodia, I was at Starbucks, and one white guy, dude came to me. He came in front of me and he said, "Can I have some money?" So, so the reality is, not all white people are. I mean, don't they have the perception that okay, it's white privilege? White people are all rich. They got a lot of money. That's wrong. Um, so yeah, it's the reality is, even though I'm from India and we got a lot of fancy cars back home. We got a lot of nice, restaurants and everything. We got proper money. Like in my wallet, I was like having like 5 million today when I went to Starbucks because the dude was so fucking rude. I had to take out all the money and just, I just bought 100,000 dong drink or something. But that motherfucker thought that I'm some poor shit ass guy. So this is the problem here in Vietnam is white privilege. They're given 5-star treatment. They're like, if even in the teaching jobs, like you're white or something, and if you can't speak good English, but you're still white, you'll be given 5-star treatments. I mean, I've had fellow white teachers; they don't even have teaching certificates. They land up with very nice apartments here in Vietnam, especially in Saigon and in Hanoi. And all the children, their parents like, oh, the teacher is white, so it's amazing. But I'm also an English teacher. But when they look at me, they say, oh, this dude is brown. He's from India. Fuck him. The problem over here is with most Vietnamese people, they think India is still a joke. Okay, India is not a joke. So I'm not going to get into the details about this, but I have never fucking had this kind of experience where any Vietnamese guy would come up to me and say, "Hey, why don't you come and join up for a beer?" They'll look at you with hate, a lot of hate, a lot of racism out here. If you're not a white person, I've heard a lot of stories that you're a white guy, you walk around, they'll invite you to come for a beer and all that shit. But it's never happened to me. A classic example would be you go to these parks in Saigon. I mean, I've seen a lot of black folks and a couple of brown skinned folks. They're never approached by these Vietnamese students. They're all these Vietnamese students. They will always go to some white foreigner and start communicating in English, and they'll be laughing and all that. And I would see all the black folks and all the people of color. They're just sitting so alone and sad. Nobody wants to talk with them. So I really fear for the Vietnamese society because you're fucking alienating, isolating India, people from in India or people of color. You're thinking we are some kind of disgusting human beings, and white people are the best. Then I really worry about the future of Vietnam. Okay, especially what kind of education these young Vietnamese people are having, the society and all those things. I don't want to get into the politics about this. I love Vietnam, but I thought of bringing up this because, I've been living here for 4 years. A lot of challenges if you're not white. I would not feel comfortable going to a fancy restaurant here in Vietnam or into a bar to drink a beer or those expat joints because I'm not white. And the problem over here is most white people who come to Vietnam over here, they're very racist. They play the white privilege card and I have seen the kind of disgusting looks they give me if I try to go to a expat joint to just sit and have a beer, because they think India is still a fucking joke. I don't know, like politically we say okay, we're doing a lot of things together, but the ground reality is, you know, most Vietnamese people think India is still a joke. They have very little. Their perception about India is really not good, especially in Saigon and Hanoi. So yeah, there is a lot of white privilege over here in Vietnam, and that's the sad reality which I have to go through every day of my fucking life over here. Even if I'm going to go to any freaking coffee shop, and going to be ordering something, I'll not be treated right. Or taking grab bikes, they'll treat you like shit. You know, so a lot of challenges. If A lot of challenges for me because I'm a person of color. I'm from India, so yeah, and I feel for black people too here in Vietnam, because I'm not sure if they're being treated rightly, but I've heard a lot of stories, horror stories. So I think it's time by 2023, the Vietnamese mindset, the outlook, it needs to change. It's not only about white privilege. You got to start communicating with other foreign nationals who are not white people. Try to be a bit more friendlier. Then we will open up to you, okay? Because by nature, I'm a very friendly person, but I like to keep my shit together because, I don't want problems out here with Vietnamese people, or, because I've seen a lot of TikTok videos here and there. So, yeah, so there's a lot of white privilege out here in Vietnam. And if you don't like watching this video, don't fucking watch it. But I don't like to, give, I like to be honest, straight up, no BS. So, I hope my video, helped you understand about the reality out here in Vietnam, the white privilege out here in Vietnam. Okay, so with that being said, peace out.